This episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast is brought to you by Bluehost. Try the #1 recommended web hosting provider. With plans starting at just $3.95 a month, you'll get a free domain, free site builder, easy one-click WordPress installs, and 24/7 support. But what's just as impressive as what you get is what you don't get, as there's no contracts, no hidden fees, and no gimmicks. Go check them out at lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Bluehost. You're listening to the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, the weekly show sharing proven methods and systems in marketing, equipment, and customer service, educational and motivational, to help make your lawn care business an overwhelming success. Now here's your host, Giulio Tomei. Welcome, Lawn Care Nation, to another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Giulio Tomei, and this is episode number 97, entitled Interview with Mo from Mo's Lawn and Iron. Well, hello, everybody, and thanks again for joining me this week on another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I really appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week, as always, and I also appreciate the questions and comments that you guys have been sending in to the show. Also, the reviews on iTunes have been fantastic, and I appreciate, of course, the effort that it takes, that I know that it takes for you guys to go to that extent and leave a interview on the iTunes for the podcast. So this week we are getting back into a interview episode. I know you guys enjoy those a lot, and very fortunate to have Mo from Mo's Lawn and Iron come and join us. Mo is one that I have been wanting to do for quite a bit, and have been trying to schedule with him, and it's just a very busy time of year. And even before the season started, Mo's got a lot on his plate, working with the lawn care and also a regular job as well during the week. So he's got he's a very, very busy guy, and as you'll hear from the episode, he's got a lot going on. So very fortunate to finally have worked it out. And I just actually threw it out there. I emailed or texted him, actually, asking him if he'd be available today, because I had some free time with a quiet surroundings with the wife and the family out busy here on the weekend, and had the house to myself. So nice, quiet, perfect recording situation. And he was able to shuffle some things around and join me for the podcast. So that is fantastic. So, as usual here, we're going to get, I'm going to play the podcast announcements, and then we'll get right into the interview in its entirety right after this. So stay tuned. Hey guys, if you have any questions or comments about the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/contact. And while you're there, why not join my mailing list and get access to a free PDF document of a landscape maintenance contract you can feel free to copy and use in your own business. For you Instagram users out there, be sure to follow me at Lawn Care Business Success. And if you haven't checked out my videos yet, well, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe to the Lawn Care Business Success YouTube channel. Now, I know you guys love listening to audio while you work as much as I do, so I've partnered up with Audible to offer you guys a free 30-day trial and one free audiobook of your choice. There's no long-term commitments, and you can cancel anytime. And get this, even if you cancel during the trial period, you get to keep your free audiobook. It's a great way to try the service and see if Audible is right for you. So why not give it a try? Head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Audible. Now back to the show. So I'd like to welcome Mo from Mo's Lawn and Iron to the show. Hey Mo, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Really good. Really excited to have you on. I know we've been sort of chit-chatting for the last few months back and forth on trying to get you on the show, and schedule-wise has been a bit difficult. So I really appreciate you making the time on this Saturday afternoon to come and talk to me.
No problem. There's nothing like being in the same situation as somebody else and both fighting the same issue to get on.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe we'll get right into the questions. So maybe tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
My My name is Mo, and I'm 29 years old. I work a 40-hour-a-week job. I cut grass as a side business. I'm also a mechanic, and I do housework also, handyman work.
Wow. As far as the lawn care industry goes, what first attracted you to doing lawn care, and what made you want to start your own business?
Well, my OCD. Once I finally noticed what grass should look like, I have when me and my wife had gotten married.
Yep.
Her family, her mother had a house she was fixing up, her grandfather's house, people across the street. I just kept noticing all these really crappy yards and people who never showed up. They'd show up like once every 3 weeks to a month. And this was in June. So this grass was like wheat fields.
Yes, yes.
Just very green, you know. And so I'd offered to cut her mother's yard, and I'd cut it and really enjoyed it because at the time I was working 7 days a week, rotating shifts, and all I could think about was my crappy job, how bad I hated life, and all that kind of stuff. So I went out there and I cut that grass, and it was such an open yard opposed to mine. My yard is a technical yard where it's either constant weeding or constant turning with a mower. In her yard, I could walk a long distance back and forth. It was like a quarter acre. And I was just so relaxed. And from there, it was an attraction to that yard. And then I asked her if she'd mind if I'd edged it and did everything the proper way. And she said yes. So it was like my testing grounds. And then I got the grandpa's yard. And then from doing those yards, I was working out of my back of my Camry. And the next thing you know, a guy from work was retiring. And he asked me to start taking care of his yard because once he quit working, he didn't want to do anything. And so, well, that sounds about right. And then the neighbor across the street, and just one by one, everyone just kept seeing me cut grass. So I was 100% word of mouth the first year.
Awesome.
And it just kept growing from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any employees, or are you a one-man operation still?
Well, I've been solo this entire time, except for like a family member to help out every now and then.
Okay.
Or me working for someone because my wife's uncle has his lawn care place, and so does my wife's cousin. Everyone has in the family, yeah. So, but those were the guys who weren't showing up to come cut that grass. So that's why I took it over. Yeah. I didn't realize how busy these guys were because they both had full-time jobs, and then they had a mowing business. So. The answer that if I wasn't working for them, then eventually once I got so busy and realized this, then I would take on a helper. And it honestly, it would be my brother-in-law every now and then. He would just be my help. And then when he got a job, I seen him around town a bunch of times, and he was always out pushing this mower. It was a self-propelled mower, and the self-propel was broken. And when I say pushing it, I mean, I don't mean like he was pushing it on the yard. He was pushing it from house to house, yard to yard. He would walk all over the neighborhood. He actually wasn't a kid. He was in his 20s. And I pulled off one day, and I was behind schedule. And I said, hey, how many you got to cut today? And he was like, oh, I'm just trying to find some more to cut. And I was like, well, tell you what. I said, why don't you throw your mower in the truck and come cut for me today, and we can do it as a trial. And I said, I'll pay you commission. I'll pay you X amount of dollars per yard. And if you add that up, you're getting an air conditioning truck. You're using my mower, you're using my stuff, and you don't have to deal with any billing whatsoever. Yeah. And he thought about it. He's like, perfect. Let's do it. And I was like, so if you know how to work fast and efficient, I was like, you can make as much money as you want, opposed to making, $7, $8 an hour somewhere. Yes. Yeah. You can make $50, $60 an hour as long as we're hustling, So to pay him commission, and this kid was a natural born hustler, that was my employee. And I've had him up until just a few weeks ago. My brother-in-law's back taking over that guy's spot. He's on vacation.
Oh, okay. Cool. That sounds very cool. It sounds neat that you were able to sort of recognize that opportunity there and to help him out as well, and see his natural born hustle, as you say, and be able to have a relationship there that benefits both of you guys. That sounds very cool. For me myself, have been a solo operator as well for the past 12 years. And I also have, used or employed from time to time family members and stuff, usually during heavy springs where they're doing, the power raking and top dressing and those types of things to speed things up. But when I'm normally mowing, I'm usually by myself. So I found a bit of a similarity there as you were talking. So my next question, I really love asking everybody who comes on the show, because it's a different answer for everybody. Yet the question to most people, they would probably think the answer is the same. But like I say, the answer is always different from everybody I ask. And that is, how would you define success?
Success is when you can come home and have nothing to do. And the reason why I say this is because I am such a busy person. That's why success seems like that to me. I feel like I'm constantly on the grind. So if I came home one day and had nothing to do. Yeah. No, that's perfect. I'd feel like that was a successful day, that I've been working hard enough that week to where I found it. But as far as life success, if you can come home to what you want and be satisfied, that's success.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. And that's exactly what I mean about that question. The average person who's not a hustler, not a small business owner, somebody who typically works in a 9-to-5 type job or shift work or something like that, and isn't exploring other opportunities or looking for other opportunities, would say that success means having lots of money. And that's sort of the general thing, or having fancy cars or that sort of stuff. And like I say, I love asking that question because somebody who does hustle, somebody who does, try to start their own business or is working at that, they all have different answers to what success means to them. So that's why, like I say, I love that question, because I know I'm going to get a different answer from everybody I ask that question for. So that's very cool. So I know this from watching your YouTube videos, this next question, but what type of equipment do you use, for those guys that aren't familiar with your YouTube channel?
Currently, my main mower is a 2004 Wright Stander 52-inch fixed deck.
Okay.
And that'd be my mower. My push mowers, which are both all-wheel drive, are a Toro recycler all-wheel drive and then a Husqvarna all-wheel drive. And the difference in the two would be the Toro can't go on its side, too far on its side when I go sideways on the hill, because it'll cut out due to a constant issue in the Toros where they get a piece of dirt that goes down to the carburetor, and you have to do it once every few months apparently to clean it out. The Husqvarna is slow, but you can put the thing upside down and it'll still run. Okay, no, that makes sense. Hand equipment, I am 100% a Stihl fanboy. And that's I've always had it. I have some Echo. I have Milwaukee, and that's really all I have right now. I used to have Echo, and that was before I properly knew how to start stuff. I could barely start my Stihl equipment because I didn't know actually how to do it. So I sold my Echo stuff when I was still uneducated on how to start an Echo. I didn't know how to start my Stihl stuff until I went to go take it to get it fixed, because I just told them, I was like, this thing is a piece of crap. Since the day I bought it, it won't start. And they were like, well, do you know how to properly start it? And then he fired it right up in front of my eyes, and I was so mad because I used that thing for like 2 years, just beating the crap out of these, not knowing how to start them properly. So that's why I'm diehard Stihl. I still had that Stihl. That's totally... FS94R. FS94R. KM90R, because I have every attachment that I would possibly need for it. And BR700 is my backpack. And I have a Husqvarna 150 BT. It was my first backpack blower I ever got, and I still have it.
Okay, perfect.
That actually fun. Everything's in a homesteader. Sorry to cut you off. Everything I run in a 5x12, 6x10 homesteader, and then my open top trailer is a 5x10.
Okay, very cool. So that reminds me, actually, it's funny that you said that story there about not being able to start, and it's funny because people tend to, like, you think, you're doing this and you're making money at doing it, but there's still lots of things that as the years go on that you learn about, and you're like, what? Like, I was actually in preparation for this interview watching your videos, and I have been using, up until July 2015, I had all my equipment stolen. But up till that point, from 2005 to 2015, 10 years, I had a BR500. And until I watched your video, literally an hour ago, and this is partly my fault because, a typical guy, I get my stuff. I don't read the instruction manuals or anything. I had no idea there was a winter mode until I watched your video. And I was like, that would have come in handy if I had known that. I had no clue. It's totally hilarious. And another time I actually started, we have very soggy lawns here. It's constantly raining. I'm very close to, like 2 hours north. I'm in Canada, like right across the US border. But about 2 hours north of Seattle. So very similar rain patterns and tons of rain and soggy lawns. So when I first started my business, when I had, a few larger properties, I started off with like a John Deere tractor from Home Depot. And, here typically you bag every lawn. And I could not get that tractor to bag. It would always clog up through that tube that was on the side going to the bagger kit. And, I used it for maybe 6 months or so, and I had bought it brand new, and I ended up going like, this thing's a piece of garbage. It doesn't work. And so I traded it in and bought a brand new Gravely zero turn, and then found out that I couldn't get that thing to bag properly either. And the dealer, I bought the Gravely at a dealer, and they're telling me, you got to buy that chute thing on the side with the propeller thing that blows the thing. And I was like, okay, well, this is like turning out like I would have just bought a walker or something, right? Everybody's telling me. So I ended up trading that one in for a walker, and that one was $14,000. And I used that, and it worked fantastically, but it was so heavy on our soft lawns that it started to constantly leave ruts or sink and stuff, and I had no option but to mow in the rain because it's always it's always raining here. And then somebody, somebody had told me, I was talking to somebody, another landscaper, and we were talking about the equipment, and I was telling him how I started with the John Deere tractor and all this stuff, and he said, did you have high lift blades on that John Deere tractor? And I was like, high lift blades? What's that? And he's like, they're the blades you use when you're bagging. And I was like, what? There's different types of blades? You mean you don't just use the blades that came with the machine? He's like, no, those are crappy, like 3-in-1 blades that they give you for mulching and things. So long story short, I ended up, after a few years, trading in that Walker mower, or selling it actually, because it kept just sinking and rutting and stuff. And I went back to a Home Depot John Deere tractor. And this time though, I bought the high lift blades, and I never had issues bagging after that. I was like, son of a gun. I can't believe that I was going through all that, grief and hassle before, and the thing bags like a dream now with the proper blades.
The exact words I was going to say was, I bet it bags like a dream.
Yeah, it's just, it was fantastic. It was like, I can't believe it's slow compared to a zero turn, but it worked fantastically, and it was super light, so it never rutted, even on the wet lawns and stuff.
A high lift blade makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If I put high lifts on the right, I shoot a rooster tail out the side of my mower like 10 feet.
Oh yeah, I can totally imagine that. So do you offer any other services that are not lawn care or landscaping related, like power washing or window cleaning, for example? And I know you hinted at doing like handyman type stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because usually the people, customers that would ask me, they say, do you know anyone who can fix gutters, clean gutters, take care of this tree, or, do this landscape. That kind of stuff. Or I'll have customers that are working on their car outside and they're just scratching their head, and then I'll have a conversation and they'll come to find out that I do, in fact, work on cars. So then it can lead to that. And there's so many ways. It's pretty wild, yeah. As soon as someone has a conversation with me and I tell them any background, then I'm all of a sudden I'm their guy for that.
For that, yeah. It opens up a whole. Well, you seem very well-rounded. Watching your YouTube videos, you remind me a little bit of me in the fact that you take on everything yourself. You're very sort of self-sufficient, kind of like I say, sort of reminds me of me. I do everything myself, whether it's repairing my equipment or maintaining it, or if I have to build something or make something. For example, making a rack or something like that, instead of taking it out, I would rather invest that money in buying a welder and tools and learning how to do it myself, and then having that equipment for future than to have somebody else do it. And you reminded me a lot of that, especially watching your progression with your dump pickup truck. And you changing out the bed and everything on Instagram, watching you sort of go through all that. And sort of the ideas you come up with, like loading your old cab into your dump bed. And I was like, this dude must have been acing his physics class in high school to figure out all these angles and stuff to get that to work. I was like, that's awesome. One man loading a pickup truck cab in the back of a truck.
It's so weird because when it comes to angles or any fractions, anything that is a portion in my entire life, as soon as they told me what it was in school, and I'd already been using it in my mind for all these years, and when they told me what a fraction was, I was like, well, duh. But it's not called a fraction, it's called a piece. They were like, what? I was like, yeah, it was just something I've been doing my whole life. No one in my family had a high enough education to ever teach me any of that stuff. No one.
Okay, yeah.
And we grew up so poor that we constantly made our own equipment, our own tools, everything. We made everything.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as take your car for someone to go work on it. That was a joke. My dad he was actually a mechanic, so we started off as that, and then he was an appliance repairman.
Okay.
In his short life, he was all these things. So I've never even heard of people taking stuff to get fixed or somebody coming to work on this. It's just
okay. It's always just the way it was.
If you can't do it, you just know somebody. Oh, I know somebody. Yeah. We can do some trading. The next thing you know, you go work on their car. You give them your old car, and the next thing you know, you get a brand new AC for the summertime. there's always something. That's always a trade-off.
Yeah, the barter system. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So in your lawn care business, do you do all residential or do you do commercial stuff?
All residential. Besides churches, I qualify those as residential also.
Okay, yeah. Is that just because you prefer residential and don't want to go after the commercial stuff, or?
I prefer residential.
Okay.
Mainly because I've noticed, on a 2-week, on biweekly yards, or when I used to actually do 10 days, I completely quit that now. But I've noticed the amount of trash and just of people walking by. So when doing a commercial property, there is so much trash, so much crap just after people, so much dog poop. I mean, the list goes on. Yeah. It just seems like no one cares because someone doesn't own it. They don't have respect for this place of business because they don't know the owner and what they've went through. So they don't care what they're going to throw on there, and I don't want them to be doing none of that stuff to my yards. So hopefully if they respect the homeowner or their neighborhood, they won't be doing that kind of stuff around there.
Yeah. So you sound
how many cars you have to add. Like when I go to someone's house, I have to worry about 16 windows and I have to worry about one front glass door and 2 cars in the driveway. Yes. That's what I have to worry about busting out. When I go to a commercial property, I have to worry about 80 windows on the front of this place, 40 cars in the parking lot.
Yeah, there's a lot more. A lot more stuff to deal with and more pain to work around. You have to be very adaptable when it comes to commercial stuff. If you're not doing it, sort of off hours, you have to really go with the flow and kind of adapt. And some weeks you may not be able to do stuff in the order you want to do because somebody's parked in a certain spot or something like that. And and that's part of the reason why I don't like doing commercial, that and the sort of having to wait to get paid for 90 days and that these commercial places seem to like. And I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. I still got a mortgage to pay. I still got kids to feed and things like that. So I mow, you pay. That's how it goes.
It's funny because I have a few customers who they either own a dentist or whatever business they actually own. And they prefer to pay me either once a month or they prefer twice a year. And we discuss these when we're writing everything up in the beginning. And it's so funny because that's the way they work. They're just like a commercial business. And you're like, don't forget, I'm cutting your house, not your business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. You sort of got to get them out of that mindset for that sort of stuff. I had, and it's funny though, if you do push back a little bit, I had one big shopping mall, grocery sort of store area, and they wanted a quote, and I gave them the quote, and then I told them, I need your credit card, and I bill everybody at the end of the month to their credit cards, and he's like, oh yeah, no, we'll just send a bill and we'll send you. I said, no, sorry, if you want me to do it, I can do it, but I need a credit card, and it gets billed at the end of the month. And sure enough, they came up with a credit card for me to use, and I was like, okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's great to hear because I think the most brilliant billing I've ever heard is George Packard on YouTube. He cuts in Florida and I think Michigan. Yeah. Somewhere up there. And what he does is he gets a credit card on file, and the morning that he's going to cut their yard, he runs the credit card at 8 a.m. Everyone's cards get ran at 8 a.m. That means I'll be there today. Yeah. Or I'll be there tomorrow. But the fact that he's paid before he walks on the yard is just, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a brilliant thing to do. I would, being a solo operation, I've thought about that, but it's even once a month, it's a lot of work and it's enough doing one bill per person per month. So to have to do every day for me would be it would take too much time. But George is way bigger, obviously a bigger operation. He's got an office person. Yes. So it works out perfect for him. Yeah. So the next question I want to ask you is one that I also love asking our guests because we get some really neat stories from each person from it. And that is share a time with us when you struggled in your business and what you did or learned to overcome it.
That would have to be every year I have the same struggle. And that's when the snow's melting and I know the value of my equipment. And then that number's in my mind on what I could sell it for. And then I have to think about what I could potentially make for the year. Yeah. Because it's a side business. And I have to look at reality and think about it. So do I make this amount over time and put in all this blood, sweat, and tears? Or do I sell everything I have right now painlessly to one person, one transaction, and have all that money sitting around? And then I don't have to do that this year. But then I think about extra income, places I can go with my family, savings, the list goes on by mowing. And every year I choose to keep mowing.
Choose to keep mowing. That's a great, I
guess that's a 5-year struggle so far.
Yeah. No, it's the same, I think, for a lot of guys, right? You have to really, sort of manage yourself. I know, from, watching your YouTube channel and seeing, especially from your recent Get to Know Me Challenge video from the Fall River Get to Know Me Challenge, and seeing that you have 7 kids and the amount that is on your plate. And like you said, making sure that they're fed and that their needs are met is your what your goal is in life now. So that is a struggle I can see coming up, through that season when it's the off season, and now this equipment is just going to sit there, and there is that potential to turn around and sell it and do that. And I always when customers ask me what I do in the winter, or, how I manage. And, I always say, I've mastered the art of, being like a squirrel, putting my nuts away for the winter, right? So knowing that when I'm working and I'm mowing and things are good and that work is coming in, that I'm always taking money aside from those good months and putting it away for the slow months, to make sure that there's enough to at least minimally pay the bills and all that sort of stuff, and make sure taxes are covered and all that sort of stuff. So it is very tempting when you open, look in your garage or something and you see all this equipment sitting there going, man, I could really just, turn that, or
use that extra cash.
Yeah.
My magic number in my mind is always $5,000. I always look at it and say, there's $5,000 sitting there, because I try to keep it right at about $5,000 worth. I always think, man, I could really use that right now.
Yeah, no kidding. But you have to, like you said, I think the equipment is worth so much more than that if you stick with it, with the potential, the potential income. Yes, the potential income that you can make with stuff. When I look at for example, a Honda HRC 216 commercial mower, and I see people always saying that, they're just too expensive. They're too expensive. They're too expensive. And here in Canada, they're really expensive. They're $1,300 when they're on sale. And I've had the first one I ever bought in 2005, I used until 2010 commercially. Exactly. And it's like that $1,300 investment. If you think about those, 10 years of mowing, how much that's generated in income, there's no comparison. And the thing I still have it. I replaced it actually with another one for cosmetic reasons, because it was getting kind of beat up looking. And that replacement is the one that got stolen with all my equipment. And I ended up pulling out my original and going back to the old one to finish off the season that year, and waiting until the dealer the following year had their spring sale. And then I bought a third one, which is the one I currently use on, during their spring sale for the $1,300. And then, the original 10-year-old one is in my garage, is sitting in backup again, waiting for, the next time it needs to get, pulled out.
Yeah,
that commercial equipment, especially with something like your right stander and stuff, those things are just, built like tanks, and, can keep going and going and going. And
that's exactly what you mean there. Is what's been on my mind the entire time. After I said that, if you think of how much money I spent on my right, which I bought it used because I could never afford a new mower. So buying that used for $2,100, it's endless. Of how many times I've made that money back tenfold. I've only had the mower for 2 years. I'm like,
that's insane.
Or the trimmers, the blowers, everything. How many times they've already paid for themselves? Like the BR 700. It paid for itself in fall cleanups in the first week.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
After everything, it already paid for itself. And I was like, oh, well.
Yeah, that's just the thing. You got to look at the bigger picture. So it's fantastic to see that you stick with it, and you sort of, suffer through the temporary, what may seem like anxiety and stuff of having that equipment just sitting there, and sticking with it for the long term. That's fantastic. So what's your favorite thing about being self-employed? I know you still have a day job and that sort of stuff as well, but as far as running your own business and stuff, what's your favorite thing about that?
I make the rules. I can go home when I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I can barter days. I can barter everything, really.
Yeah.
There's the freedom to it. And even at my day job, I'm really not supervised by anybody. I do have a supervisor, but we don't really need him, and I don't really ask him too many questions. And we usually only speak once a day or once every other day. And I just know the job that I have to get done, and I get it done. And it's kind of cool, the freedom there. So compared to previous jobs that I've worked in the mill for years and all that, it's demanding, point systems, the list goes on. At this place, it's just as free almost as my mowing. And
Okay.
yeah, that's definitely my favorite thing about mowing and car work and everything is the freedom, because I had a car dropped off yesterday from a flatbed. I picked up my wood to put my sides on my dump truck yesterday. I parked my trailer and said that I'll do those other 4 today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
I made every one of these decisions. I told them to drop that car off. I'll do it on Sunday.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to leave this truck full of wood over here. Like, I made every one of these decisions and said when I'm going to do it. And I chose to do this podcast today. I chose to hang out with my family this morning.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's nice.
The freedom of it. Yep. Not having people telling you what to do, when to do it, and all that is, it can be life-changing and very difficult to go back to. If, for example, if your job changed and that supervisor changed and, maybe they put somebody else in there that was now more controlling, I would imagine it would be very difficult for you to then have to adapt to that after having the freedom of being able to make your decisions when you want.
It's funny. Just 4 days ago,
yeah,
I was pretty much offered the position in the shipping and receiving department as the supervisor over all of them. And when I crunched the numbers and thought about, instead of working 4 days a week, I would work 5 to 5.5, depending on which week it is in the month.
Yeah.
Headache, and the fact that I would have to go to all the supervision meetings, manager meetings, all the bigwig stuff. I would have to deal with all that all the time. It would officially be my job. And for only another 10 to 15 grand per year. Yeah. I thought about it and I was like, I'm good. And I passed on that job. Because
no, that's awesome.
I would lose my freedom and potentially my sanity. So
yes. Yeah. No, that sounds like I say you sound very similar to me. Watching those videos of you, that Get to Know Me challenge, you put a priority on your family first, which is what I'm all about. My whole business is based around my family first and being able to still take my kids to school in the morning and pick them up after school. So essentially most of my days look like mowing at 9 and done by 2 because I'm picking up kids and then I have to get, dinner started and things like that so they can get them off to their sports and things like that in the evenings. But that, having my own business allows me the freedom to do that. And like you said, same, very similar. And the fact that, you also don't, smoke or drink or anything like that, which, I'm similar there too. I don't do any of that stuff. So I found a lot of similarities, watching your videos. I could relate, to you, quite easily.
It's easy to know where your funds are or to save money or to do when you don't have something constantly pulling. Like if I smoked, I would have to think that, I got to stop at the store and buy $6 to $7 worth of cigarettes today.
Yes.
That'll get me through the day. Yeah. Or if I smoked 2-3 packs a day, it could be worse. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or if I drank, I would have to think of like how much my whiskey is going to be for the weekend. But as far as just like you said, just if you think about this, how the opportunity to make the money, that the fact that in lawn care you can work from 9 to 2.
Yep.
Be there for your kids in the morning. Be your kids there for the afternoon. More than likely, don't mow on Sundays.
Nope. A
lot of people don't mow on Saturdays. All that, still be able to put away a winter fund.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's you're kind of blind if you can't see the opportunity that's there.
Yes.
Granted, it comes with stress.
Yep.
Absolutely. Does come with stress. There's a lot of people who have different situations where they can't do it or they can't do it full time. Me, I just can't put it all out there because there's just so many. Now, if we had like half the amount of kids, I would think more like, maybe I should do this full time. Or And then YouTube really helps me out a lot too, because pretty much your story. With your timing and taking care of your kids is similar to Geek to Freak with his daughters. He can drop them off, he can pick them up, but if he gets back behind, he can bring them with him potentially, depending on what quote unquote cool customers he has, and stuff like that. Or you got people like Johnny Moe who broke it down to me and told me that he's had multiple crews and the money's not there. The money is in the solo you know. So there's different ways to look at it. But then again, in Johnny Moe's world, there's high, thick, rich grass, which isn't too far from me. And who's also not too far from me is Greg, because he's on my left and Johnny's on my right.
Okay.
Greg's situation, he has the same crappy Granite City mix, and I have the Cincinnati mix.
Okay, yeah.
Which is the same crappy grass.
Okay, yeah.
So it grows, but we can knock it down, and we can leave ugly because it looked ugly when we got there.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's the blends of that stuff, and it's having your own business and getting into lawn care and all that sort of stuff is it's what I love about lawn care. Just like, you know, you think about the diversity there from anybody, a kid, like you said earlier, pushing their lawnmower from house to house to mow lawns, to, you know, you starting out and loading your lawnmower into the back of your car when you first started out, to you have guys with crazy huge trailers and tons of equipment, all the way to you know, multiple crews or companies in multiple states working. You know, it's so adaptable, and it can grow and be as big as you want or as small as you want, and as customizable as you want. So that's all pretty fantastic. So in what ways do you market your business, and maybe share your number one tip for people?
Well, when I first started, everything was word of mouth, obviously. And then we turned into, was it about a year or two later? I decided I was going to hit the ground running and go wild. So I got to 37 accounts. And when I got 37 accounts, that was after I lost my job at the mill. So I had time to do those and car work and everything. And I was doing that all solo. And I was fighting used crappy mowers. So I was putting all this on Craigslist, and I was getting this Craigslist quality of customers.
Yeah.
And so it drove me crazy. And then I just, the next year, I cut through all the crappy yards. I did route density, everything within a certain mile. It all had to be in a route. And so I quit the Craigslist postings, and I just kind of spoke to every customer and said, hey, if you have any neighbors, let me know. You know, so I kind of went through that stage of just letting everyone know it's okay to use me if you want to use me for your neighbors. Like if you got a neighbor and you don't like their yard, you can have a casual conversation with them and kind of hint to them, hey, your yard sucks. I got a guy that can fix this.
Yeah.
So then I went through that, and then I just kept downsizing. Then I had 20. And then I got all the way down to 12. And then I bounced back to 15 because of the word of mouth and just people seeing my work. People just walking up saying, hey, this looks great. Do you have time to look at mine? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some of my customers, they know my story, and they're just decent people, and they'll put on like a neighborhood app or maybe some community they're in, and they'll put on there that, hey, I have a lawn guy who doesn't so much advertise. He's not big time. He's not going to lose you in the mix, and he takes care of your yard like it's his own. You know, and they put it on there, and that's kind of my form of advertising, even though I'm not doing the advertisement myself. My customers so like so much to where I'm going out doing this. It's pretty cool.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's basically the word of mouth, but more in a new tech sort of age with I imagine things like Facebook groups and things like that you see, community groups and things that they're sharing amongst their groups with stuff like that. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's that is, I could have so much more customers, and there's so many more opportunities if I actually went through Facebook, but I don't have one. My wife has one. Okay. And she does see people looking for them sometimes. And she'll discuss, and then I've got them that way too. Okay, yeah. But I call it the Facebook trauma. I don't want to be that person that's glued to it. Yeah. And just in the mix all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I don't want. It actually gives me an anxiety attack. I used to have an anxiety attack thinking about getting Instagram.
Yeah.
Now that I have one, I almost feel guilty of like spending time with Instagram over my family.
Yeah.
When I would be editing YouTube videos, taking me a half hour to an hour to make it correct. I used to actually put more work into it. Now, granted, I'm faster, but I just don't edit as much, and I've noticed that sometimes my videos they're just barely edited. They get the most views, and oh my god, I just put an hour into this video, and it's got like 300 views. What?
Yeah. No. That's I was actually. I don't know if you saw. Recently, I got to take a trip out to Chicago to do that Echo UAG program, and actually on the way back, sitting in the airport waiting for flights and stuff, I was hanging out with Lawn Care Rookie, and we were talking about it, and I was telling him how I'm just starting to get into YouTube, but I see how it's so time consuming putting these videos together and stuff, and he says, yeah, you'll learn how to film to edit, where you're already thinking in your head the shots, and you only film that, so that there's not a whole bunch of leftover footage that you're never going to use anyways, that it's just basically record, stop, then you do the next shot, record, stop, and you just put it together kind of like that, and it's ready to go. So there's very little editing left. In the end, you're not spending, he says, you'll learn pretty quick. You'll get tired of all the editing and time it takes doing it. So that actually is a great trend. Yeah, so that's actually a really great transition, actually, because my next sort of set of questions here was to go into the YouTube side of it. So why did you decide to start sharing on YouTube? I guess YouTube was your first, and then Instagram. So why did you even decide to start doing that?
Well, everyone else, they seem to have found the freak first. Yeah. And I didn't find the freak exactly first. But I got on YouTube when I couldn't figure out something on a car.
Okay.
Or if I knew that I'm not the person who wants to spend 4 hours trying to figure something out because I have too much pride to ask a question. I'll call a dealership and ask to talk to the service department, and then I'll fill out to the service department to make sure they're cool and they're not going to be mad at me for asking them a question.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them, like, hey, so how do you go about this?
Yeah.
I'm curious, because I'll tell them the truth. I can't afford to come spend $1,500 for you to do it, so I'm going to do it myself in these 4 hours. But when I do it in these 4 hours, I don't want to spend 3 days. I want to do it in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So can you tell me the trick? Is there a special tool? What is it? So I get on YouTube, and you can learn that stuff as well, and especially after hours. Because once 5 p.m. hits, you have no service department to talk to.
Yes.
It's just YouTube, and if you can learn how to put in this, the proper words in the search engines, there's so many. It's whether it's in the description, or if YouTube or Google has actually just picked apart that video and figured out what's in it, even though it's not in the description. They'll have videos that'll pop up that'll have relative content, and it's nothing in the description. It's not the title. It's nowhere, but it's in there, and somehow it has recognized it.
Okay.
So I got started doing that, checking out cars, building things. I build my furniture, like my TV stand, my table. My all my canned good racks, our fruit racks, everything's been built by Skids. It's Skid Art. I do that stuff also.
Okay, cool.
And so I was on there, and I think I was having issues with, it might have been my mower. It was something just strange and odd, and the fact that I got on there and I seen the freak's face on there.
Yeah.
And he looks just like my brother. My brother has blonde hair, blue eyes.
Okay.
Looks just like the guy. And I was like, oh man, that guy looks kind of like my brother. So I got in there and kind of find out this guy lifts weights like I do, mows grass like I do, knows kids, Yeah. So I'm like, and I started to listen to this guy, and they call him Geek the Freak because the geeky portion, as people would say, it's in school. I was with the popular crowd, whatever you want to call these guys, but I never boxed out anybody for nothing. Whether my friends got mad or not, if some quote unquote nerd or outcast or whatever they were, if I was having a conversation with them, I wasn't going to stop them in the hallway and tell them, all right, I'll see you later. I'd say, come on over to my table. We're going to sit down and have a lunch. Yeah. And my stuck up friends would look over like, oh, well, what's going on here? I'm having a conversation. You know, if you don't like it, there's a door.
Yeah. No.
That was just how I did it. So when I heard the freak talking, I'm like, man, I like this guy because I've related to so many people.
Yes.
Or down on themselves or whatever. And with him, it was his self-image, what his ex-wife had done. So I found this guy. The next thing you know, I see a Kelphus. He might have came out like the next year after that. I think I found Greg in the first 1,400 subscribers.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And when I found Kelphus looks like me, but he's like 5 inches shorter.
Okay, yeah.
So when I seen him, I was like, oh, that guy looks like me. Okay. So then I started watching this guy, and he's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, we got something in common. So that's how it went from there, and I kept finding like an addiction because Greg's videos can just suck you in because he was on such a personal level, which was actually a good thing because he put so much of his information out there that it kind of taught us. It gave us a runway of how to do your own YouTube videos. Do not do it this way.
Yes.
With his struggles, he taught us, don't put your real name on there. Yeah. Don't put your license plates on there. Don't put addresses on there. What else goes on? There's so many people out there that just get upset over nothing, and then they can try to ruin your life over something so small.
Yes. Yeah. No. Very, very good advice in all that you were saying. Actually, reminded me of when my daughter, who is now going into grade 11, but when she was first entering high school, the one piece of advice that I gave her, I said, I got one thing, because she was all nervous about high school and all that sort of stuff, the big transition. And I said, I got one piece of advice for you. Be friends with everybody. I said, I don't care if they're the smokers out back or the nerds or whatever you want to call them, or the jocks. Be friends with everybody. Don't turn your cheek to anybody, and you'll just get along with everybody. Everybody's got something to offer, and just be open to that. A lot there. And like you said, Greg, you mentioned that Keith is kind of crazy and stuff. Greg was too. I remember watching videos where he wanted to teach in one of the videos, teach you how to edge. And he pulled up and started edging a sidewalk. And it wasn't even any of the houses that he does. It was just some random house that had overgrown edges, and he just pulled over and started doing And I was
that's the first video that Johnny Moe watched with his crew when he had a crew, and they all was like, what? And that's how Johnny Moe got started, was watching that exact video.
Yeah, it's so funny. And like you said, and then with Keith, he goes off on a tangent sometimes, and he's almost like talking to himself and making these weird voices and things, and it's just like, the dude's crazy. But it's the same thing.
Sure were split at birth, and
that's what I say, right? It's like I say, like, when I say that the dude's crazy and stuff like that, is like, I love that stuff because we all do it. We just aren't brave enough to and to actually put it out in public, that you start talking to yourself and all that sort of stuff, right? And you're like second guessing yourself. Those videos he puts out where his maybe his confidence isn't that great at that time, and he's kind of second guessing and struggling and going through certain things, and just to put it out there, I think is why so many people relate to these guys, that they're so honest and true. About themselves and situations. So yeah, there's something neat that they've started. You see it now. There's so many lawn care different channels and all that, and even this podcast is all a direct result of those guys starting that trend and putting it out there. And I don't know, I always say about myself with the podcast and that I'm hitting, getting close to 100 episodes, and my wife thinks I'm nuts. She has no idea why I spend so much time doing this, and now going to YouTube videos and the Instagram and all that sort of stuff. It just seems to keep growing and growing. But I say, I don't know what it is, but something is calling me to do this, to put out the information, and then you get these emails from people saying how much you've helped them. And it's just like, it's very, very cool, the experiences and stuff, and being able to meet these people from all over, especially from YouTube and stuff like that, and getting to hang out with like the Lawn Care Rookie and stuff like that during that meeting and things. Just very neat. So how...
Awesome.
What was that?
Sorry to interrupt. That meeting must be awesome to do that, because like I've met Naylor twice now.
Yeah.
At GIE, met Fall River. We didn't really meet. I met him the first time, but I actually got to hang out with him for a few minutes the second time. And just all these guys, like when you get to meet them, how YouTube's just brought a lot of stuff as far as we usually meet at the GIE or just any situation. You guys get to meet each other. Like now I know so many people some from my neighborhood, some from my surrounding cities. And it's funny because we'll make jokes even on Instagram. Like, I'll tell these kids like, "Hey, you're on my turf. What are you doing?"
Yeah. No,
that I was going to mow that.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, no, it was a very cool experience, and it was at least with that group that was there. It was nothing but love for like everybody there. And we were all on the same wavelength, and everybody was just totally cool. Especially the night before the actual meeting, being able to hang out and have dinner together and stuff. It was very, very neat.
Awesome.
So how does your family handle you, doing the whole YouTube thing?
Well, when I first started doing the videos, I spoke with my wife about them. And this was in the beginning when the community was still small and everyone subbed to each other, something awful. I think I had like 350 subs, 365, something like that. And I was doing lawn care videos, and it was really cool. Talking about my setup, and it was just a real tight-knit community. And that's how I explained it to her. I said, it's kind of like a big family right now. Yeah. And she took it pretty well. But it was when someone came to buy a mower from me, and he knew all of my equipment already. He knew my yard. He knew everything. That's when I was like, whoa, and it was just before the first GIE.
Okay. Yeah.
No, just before the second GIE, where we all got together. But just before the second meetup. I've been to 3 now.
Okay.
And I deleted everything on my channel. Just deleted every video, and she knew what was going on. As far as my kids, we still kept that from them just because we don't want anything at school or anything like that, and any reason to be teased. No, nothing. So we just keep from them altogether. As far as they know, they do know that sometimes I'll get a free product from a company, and I have to give them an honest review. Yeah. And I do just that, and they understand that. Like when I come back from the GIE with gifts, and they're like, "Where'd you get all that stuff?" I'm like, "Well, these are those nice people that tell me, give them your opinion, and you get this for free, or that kind of stuff." And they understand that, and a lot of my friends know that too. They know, like they'll say, "Well, where in the heck did you get this hover mower?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to give these people an honest review and make them a video, and give them honest feedback and what I think about it and the situations it can work for my company, and I get it for free, And they're like, "That's crazy. I want to do it." I'm like, "No, you don't." Not just yet. So it's pretty cool. But it was when I kind of started back up gently into it. I started my second channel, which is Milwaukee Mow.
Okay.
And Milwaukee Mow is because I love Milwaukee tools.
Okay.
And that's not saying that they've never gave me anything.
Okay.
I have nothing to do with Milwaukee, but I've used them, like we were talking about commercial equipment.
Yeah.
I got some used Milwaukee M18 impacts and such from mechanic friends who were actually working in real shops, and they would either be upgrading or they'd be moving to another shop or they were going pneumatic, whatever their deal was. I bought Milwaukee stuff off of them, and the next thing you know, I'm in a battery platform and I just keep buying tools, and the next thing you know, I'm doing everything correct. Everything's getting better and better, my quality.
Yeah.
Because I'm in these Milwaukee. So then I started making videos on how to do brakes, how to fix this very hard AC issue inside of Crown Victorias. Like that video's got like 16,000 views, and I made it in like 3 minutes just talking. Wow. Didn't edit a single thing.
Yeah.
And just put it up there. And it took me like 30 seconds to post it.
Okay.
And like that went up there and like that many views for that versus something that I've edited for an hour and it's got 300 views. That's a huge ordeal. So that channel just kind of sits there. I just put something on it like once a month or once every few months. I'll just have a little bit of content for it, and it grows. The odd thing is it's got like 70 or 80 subscribers. It's not intended for subscribers. It's just intended for, I'm trying to give back to all the guys who they show me stuff on the internet, and there's so many people that don't understand these things. But then sometimes you get a narrow-minded mechanic on there who can't teach someone something because in his mind, that's the only way to do it. Well, I've proven people wrong my entire life because I've made something out of nothing. And there's other ways to go about this,
Yes. No, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was why I started the second one. And my wife definitely understood that one. But then it was when I had to say, well, hey, I'm going to start up the other one again. But this time, no license plates, no information, no nothing. I don't want these guys that know nothing about my stuff. They're going to know me as Mo, and that's it.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, sounds like a plan, She's like, as long as we're not editing for an hour at a time again. I'm like, I'll do that when we drive the car. So
that would bring me.
I edit on my iPhone, but
okay,
I can do it in the car. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. That brings me to the next question of, so what tips would you have for other landscapers wanting to get into the YouTube and start a channel and that sort of stuff?
Find out what kind of information you really want to give it and why. Why are you doing it? Because I used to make mowing videos because I enjoyed mowing. And it got to the point to where I was so embarrassed to mow in front of people. Now I don't make mowing videos anymore, hardly at all.
Okay.
Like it's got to be a pretty confident day to bust out my phone and set it up on a tripod and have people drive by and stare at me.
Yeah.
And I used to make the videos because I just figured people didn't know how to do this and that. But at the same time, I've never really made how-to videos except for stuff I can 100% know what I'm doing because I don't want to be that guy trying to show someone how to do something and I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. That's not the guy I want to be. So just make sure that you know your goal. You know why you're putting this video up. Don't waste your time. And really just do it if you love it. Don't do it for no reason at all. Don't do it because someone else is doing it. If you actually love this and this is what you want to do, or you want to give back, or you feel like you bring a very nice piece of information to this community where someone can work off of, or even in entertainment, like Cut and Clean, he brought the funny entertainment side of YouTube. I feel like that, honestly, that he brought the funniness, the sarcasm, that kind of stuff. There was sarcasm and funniness before that, obviously, with many people, but he really brought it on. And secretly, no one knew until he told everyone, oh, by the way, he used to do videoing and everything in school. So he actually knows all this stuff, and he brings a huge piece of pie to the table.
No, that's a great point. Do you have any tips as far as what you learned or what you experienced for like safety and that sort of stuff online? What would you not do? What would you tell somebody not to do?
What I would not do is do not tell them where you live.
Yep.
You can maybe tell them your city if you have a huge city. Don't show your license plate. Don't show them your enclosed trailer with your business number on the side. Don't show them your nice truck with your business number on the side. You can do all that, but just be prepared to be getting phone calls from either an 8-year-old kid or a 50-year-old man, someone who wants to start a business. They're going to have questions for you. Yeah, don't don't tell people how to do something if you honestly don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I've experienced that part of it. I, for the longest time, didn't show my trailer or my company name, and then felt that at one point I needed to, just to be authentic and to show that, okay, this person behind the microphone actually does run a lawn care company.
Right.
And stuff. And I noticed that the calls do start getting a lot more calls now. But the way I handle it is I just don't answer them if they're not from the area code that I'm from. So if it's from out of town or anything like that, well, I mow lawns in this particular city, in this particular neighborhood. So if the phone number isn't coming from there, then you can leave a message, but I'm not answering the phone. And that's just basically what I've done and what's worked for me. But it definitely has increased the number of calls from out of town, especially from the United States coming. And like I say, I live in Canada, so I see like these numbers all day long coming from different areas, and it does get a bit annoying at times. But like I say, I just don't answer. So there's not really, and I try to publicize that I don't answer. So if you try to phone me, I'm not answering. leave a message. So, cause I know you're not looking for me to mow a lawn.
So me being the optimistic person I am, I can't do that. I can't not answer the out of state calls. I used to do it. And then I answered one. Now, 5 out of the 15 customers that I keep, I try to stay right at like 15.
Yeah.
5 out of 15 have an out-of-state number. And they're actually my best customers because I don't have to see them. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I just, record I give them a before and after picture, and that's it. And I send it to them. And that's in the books. Like they know that it was cut that time. So when I go to bill them, there's no question whether or not it was built.
Yes.
But it's pretty cool though, the fact that they're all out of state. It just so happens that that's how you put it like that. And if I wouldn't have answered those calls, then I would have never got these people.
Yeah. No. And that's why I say,
it doesn't help that I live in a college town too. And there's a lot of smart investors here. Instead of paying $1,500 in rent a month to rent out a house, they'd rather buy a house for $150,000 and rent out some rooms to people, and so these people have out-of-state numbers.
Oh, okay.
It happens all the time here.
Yeah. I guess my point is, if somebody really does want lawn mowing or something, they can leave a message, and then I'll call them back if they're from if they're from out of state.
If it's enough to them. That's what my wife always says. Yeah. If it's important enough, to leave a message. I'm like,
and then I'll get back to them.
Exactly.
So what are your gonna go away from the YouTube part of it and back into the mowing? So what are do you have any future plans or goals for your business? Are you content just keeping it as a side hustle with your day job?
That's the weird thing. I'm pretty content as of now. Sometimes I do think about going full time, and with that, if I went full time, I would invest into another mower.
Yeah,
a 36-inch stander, so that I would be able to go in those gates in the backyard instead of sending my helper back there with the push mower. That's typically what I do. By having my helper, I take all the exhaustion out of my mowing. I make it to where I get to put my nice edge on it. And I get to either look over his blowing or I get to blow it myself. And I get to do in the front where the stripes are, where it counts, in my opinion. So if it's going to go in any direction, it'll go bigger. But it seems like it's just content where it is.
Okay. Sounds great. And that's, again, the whole, what I love about lawn care. It's absolutely adaptable to what you want to do. If you just want to use it as a side hustle, if you want to make it your full-time job, if you want to have crews, it's just so expandable and so customizable, that, it's my favorite thing about lawn care. So just a couple more questions left. This one here is another question I really love to ask, and that is, if what would you tell somebody, your best piece of advice, if that you would tell somebody wanting to start out in lawn care? Now, this is somebody that you that you would only want the best for. So this person's coming to you, they're confiding in you, they may be in a 9-to-5 job, a shift job that they absolutely hate, they're thinking about doing lawn care. What would you tell them?
Don't buy old crappy used mowers.
Okay.
Because I spent so much time flipping mowers in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you have the money, please invest according to what your goal is.
Okay.
If you're planning on doing small postage stamp yards, buy a new push mower,
Yep.
a new weed eater, and a new blower.
Okay.
And make sure you buy the correct size trailer.
Yeah.
If you plan to go to a 52, don't buy a 4x8 trailer that it doesn't fit on.
Yeah.
I've had so many trailers. I've had so much equipment. If I'd have saved a lot of money, or not so much money, because I always made money on those, because not only did I make money with that equipment, but I would usually try to make a profit because I'd fix it up. I usually buy them junk and fix them up. But not everyone is in the fixing every piece of equipment business.
Yes.
You know, I fix everything I have. But if someone's going into this, they're not mechanically inclined, the last thing you want to do is buy equipment that you can't work on, and it's going to break down.
Okay, yeah. Great piece of advice. I actually always say, I don't know if you're familiar with, when I started my lawn care business, I actually started out by buying a franchise. And so I was in this franchise system, and when you bought the franchise, you got a brand new custom dump trailer. You got all this commercial equipment, all as part of your franchise. I always say that I learned from the franchise the value of using commercial equipment, because if I had started out on my own first, I probably would have tried to get away with just using residential equipment for everything, trimmers, blowers, all that sort of stuff, and would have had headaches of the stuff breaking down and failing and not being able to get parts for stuff, and being, it would have discouraged me, and I might have, probably ended up quitting lawn care altogether. And by being forced to use really good quality commercial equipment, I learned that, if my Honda breaks down or I lose a bolt, that I can run to the dealer and he'll probably have it in stock. And I can, turn what with a residential mower might be a couple weeks to a month, downtime waiting for parts, into a half an hour to an hour of just running to the dealer to grab a new bolt, like I did once with my Honda mower, where I was mowing, and then I heard a funny noise and I turned it off and flipped it over, and one of the two bolts that holds the blade on, I guess I didn't tighten down, and it was gone. And so now the blade was kind of loose and stuff, and I was like, well, obviously I can't mow. Ran to the dealer. Obviously, being a commercial mower, he has all that sort of stuff in stock, and I was up and running again in, 30 minutes. And so I learned the value of that, and being able to have, tune-up parts and cables and things like that. The stuff that normally goes out on commercial mowers, the dealer stocking that stuff and keeping your downtime. So yeah, I think that's great advice, being able to, not mess around if your end goal and what your plans are, like you say, what your end result is with your lawn care business, to, if you can afford it, put that money towards good quality stuff, and minimize your downtime, and even minimize your, like you say, the amount of messing around with swapping out trailers for a bigger one because you didn't buy the biggest size and now you had to upgrade equipment and it doesn't work, and that sort of stuff. If you can, as possible, like you say, just to go from there. So that's great. So
of course,
if somebody wants, go ahead.
There's a catch to this, and the catch is also do not invest into something that you don't know if you're going to want to do this.
Yep.
So when buying a used commercial mower, if you bought it in the range, you could turn around and sell it for the same price. If you buy a new mower, the downfall would be you're not going to get your money back out of it if a month later you realize that you don't want to do this.
Yes.
These are also issues. That would be the reason why people would say, do buy used equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that too. Yeah. And don't get drawn into what other people are using and think that you have to get that, because it may not work for you.
It's got to be correct for your area. Exactly.
As the example of my Walker issue, a fantastic mower. They work great, but in my particular little area where the rain is constant and the soil is mainly clay based and the rain doesn't drain even, you can have a week with no rain and it's still soft. That mower with its low ground clearance because of the GHS system and the blower and everything that's sort of built into it, as soon as it sinks a little bit, it gets hung up and then you're stuck. And I would constantly get stuck with that Walker mower. But I bought it because I saw online and in other areas. And because I was in that franchise is in different countries as well. And in some of the other countries, they all use the Walkers. And I was like, these things are fantastic. This is what you should use. Everybody says to use this, and it is a great mower. I have nothing bad to say about it, except it doesn't work where I am. I put a lot of money into that machine, and it wasn't the right fit for me. So yeah, that's great advice as well. So if somebody wants to follow Mo's Lawn and Iron online, how can they find you?
2 ways to find me. Instagram, I am Mo's Lawn Iron.
Yep.
Spelled out. Or on YouTube, I'm Mo's Lawn and Iron, which is what it actually means, because I mow lawns and I work with iron. Originally, the iron meant working out, but since I'm about to go over the hill at 30, so not so much of this anymore. And honestly, the iron, it's great on my YouTube channel because I work with iron. If you look at my old rusty dump truck that I'm constantly working on, if you look at my page, you're like, man, this guy's either a true hillbilly or he just really likes to just mess with junk. So I'm Mo's Lawn Iron. Either way you look at it.
That's awesome. So that was the last question. I think that was a perfect answer to sort of end that segment there and explain the name. So that's fantastic. So I thank you again for taking the time out.
Oh, you're good. I'm just glad we got it done, man.
Well, there you have it, Lawn Care Nation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview episode with Mo from Mo's Lawn and Iron. And hopefully you guys got some nuggets of gold from him and his work ethic and, how he puts his family first and all that he does. I know a lot of you guys can relate to having that job full time and having to do the lawn care as that side hustle. So I think there was a lot of value there in that episode. As always, I'll put the links to Mo's Instagram and his YouTube channel in the podcast notes, so you guys can find that quickly. And if you guys do have a chance to leave a review on iTunes, I'd really appreciate that. So I think that's it for this week. And as always, here's to wishing you guys all overwhelming success and freedom in your lawn care business. Bye for now.